Hi guys, Kurt Shibber here. So today I'm going to be taking a look at a member of our community's €5 spin and go from Winamax. This is See You at Spins game. Let's see if we can find anything he can improve on, any good tips. We're just going to be folding the 9-3 for sure here. But we can see how the villains play, see if we gather any information from this hand. A small c-bet, a check, a huge probe, and a fold. Probably we can infer that this small c-bet on such a board was pretty weak. Apart from that, not much. Jack 4 is going to be a fold. Okay, we've got a limp, and it looks like a check down and then a river bet. And we see he bluffed a hand, which doesn't make huge sense to bluff at this point. And this player just calls with 2 pairs, so we instantly know this player on the right is a recreational player. He's only faced 1 bet on the river here with 2 pair and not raised, so this definitely needs to be raising for some value. So we can already say the player on the right is definitely a recreational. And this Jack 6 play is very strange as well, so there's a potential for potentially 2, definitely 1, maybe 2. So we already have quite a lot of information just from that one showdown. Always important we pay attention to these things. Okay, we're going to want to be defending our 5-4 for sure here. I like that it's defended. And there's nothing we can do on this board. We hit this board pretty well. Obviously, so does a small blind. But with this hand, we have nothing going on. Fine to just fold. That's what he does. If we're playing versus a reg here, and he uses such a small size, and I would defend pretty wide, but we're still just not cutting it. We'd want to defend hands like backdoor flush draws, etc. Okay, 9-2 suited. We don't know the player, so at this point I would like to VPip the hand and test him out. He does this. This is cool. Either a limp or a raise. There is a key point to know if you do go for the raise, though, you must fire it up with post-flop aggression. Otherwise, better to just limp. Here, for example, is the perfect opportunity to just bet 1 big blind. He goes half pot. Okay, I'm happy with the fact you bet. This is good. We definitely don't want to be checking. We want to be taking all the auto folds. Something that's really important in spin and goes is trying to win the air versus air battle. I know we don't have pure air here. We have a draw, but we have no showdown value, right? So it's very important we force him to fold all of his air. Hands like Queen 2 of hearts, for example, right? There's lots of hands we can pick. 8-7 offsuit. We want to fold all these hands, cut their equity, make sure we win the air versus air battle. So good that you see bet and you take the pot down. I think 1 big blind would also be fine with a plan to just barrel half pot on the turn. Either's going to be completely fine. The main thing is to bet, so nothing wrong with this hand. Also, I recognise playing 9-2 suited with a raise here is wider than theory. This is a good exploit, and I encourage you to all make it. Versus unknown players, we should VPip wider than the solver small blind versus big blind three-way, unless they've shown us they're capable to either be very aggressive versus bets with check raises, very, very sticky, so just not folding versus our bets, or highly isolating our limps. Okay. Queen 3, this is going to be just a standard fold. Nothing we should be doing here. We'll see if anything interesting happens. So a check, a delay, a call, a big barrel, and a call. And we see this player is definitely also a recreational player. Doesn't really make sense to put this river when now you're not beating any other 9x, right? This king has created a chopping scenario with other 9x. So at that point, you're only targeting a 2. It did work out very, very nicely in this case for the player, and he does get value from the 2. But I think this is enough information to infer that we're playing 2 recreationals here. This means we need to be playing really high VPip in general. So this is a spot I would fold. It's going to be a call in theory, and it's going to be a call versus a regular player. However, I don't think it's worth to make this call when we've got a 2 recreational player table. This is one position where they do jam a little bit too tight as well. So this would lean us towards overfolding compared to theory. King 9 suited. Okay, we're going to have to fold. That's unfortunate. Again, we're just being dealt some trash here. Nothing we can do. Queen 10. Again, this is just definitely going to be a fold now. This is even much, much closer in theory. We're getting close-ish to around a break-even theory call, maybe generating a tiny, tiny bit of EV. And But we don't want to take that in this game for sure. So I'd like to see a fold. He makes it. I think the play's been pretty good all around so far. Very solid. This is the first big mistake, in my opinion. It's not a theory mistake. Okay, so if you look this up in a solver, we could put this here. It's going to tell you to fold this hand. However, we're playing versus a recreational player. We want to V-pip this. With a limp's going to be fine, just limp stab. And we're going to overachieve because if we fold here, we've got this 0.5 big blinds at risk, right? So we're going to lose half a big blind. By limp stabbing, we're going to lose less than half a big blind. So we should be doing this. So this is our first mistake, in my opinion. 9-4, easy fold. Do we get anything interesting here? Not really. Okay. We have a button limp, so confirmed that this play is indeed probably recreational. We check and we get a pretty bad flop, right? We don't have a piece of this. We're not going to be able to do much here. Goes check, check. And now it's double paired. Do we want to bluff this hand? Well, I don't quite think so. I think it's too easy for villain to have like queen high, king high, and easily call here. I would just give up. If the board was less, I might go for it. On the river, we do have a bit more of a decision after he double checks. I think it's very close. I can get behind betting 3/4 with the goal of purely folding his air. So if I bet here, the goal is not to fold king high. The goal is not even really to fold queen high. If he folds it, great. The goal would be to fold any jack high, 10 high, 9 high, or even worse hands than ours to prevent them from bluffing, right? He's a recreational. He could have limped anything on the button. Say he has 7-6 of hearts, right? Well, so we can't have that. Let's say he has 7-5 of hearts, right? Something like this. If we check, he might bet and we have to fold. Whereas if we bet, we might fold it off. So I can get behind betting 3/4. If you give up, I don't hate it too much with it being double paired. But in general, when we get the spot, after a player double checks, we should take the opportunity more often than not. It's very easy to get over folds. We do go for it, and we get click raise, so unfortunately we have to fold. But it's nice that you're recognizing this is a spot we can attack. We can do it on any board. The worst board is double paired, so this might be the one board we struggle a little bit on, but I still think we're going to potentially turn a profit here. On more normalish boards that aren't double paired, we turn a very big profit. You think when you bet this sizing, what is this? This is slightly over half pot. We're only needing to fold about 35% of the time, a bit over 1 in 3 here. The data suggests we can get a fold in this scenario over 60% of the time, so a very profitable spot in general. So I'm happy that you decided to take the aggressive action. I'm fine with folding 4-2 now because we've got shallower. If we were still 15 big blinds plus, even 13, I would still try and play this recreational player with a limp stab strategy, trying to overachieve the -1/2 big blind we have for fold. 10-8 suited, we can push all in. Okay, well done. Jack 7, you're going to have to fold again. Going a little bit card dead. Just as you say that, you get ace king, complaining you get. That's always the way, right? We're just going to be going all in here. Nothing really else to do at 8 big blinds. And we get called by king 9. Our opponent's not made a mistake here. This is all correct play. Just a nice situation for us. And we've got a more playable stack again, which is lovely. So, 6-7 suited is a profitable jam, in theory. The problem is, this jam depends on players folding, right? Like all of our EV is coming from getting 2 folds here. Recreationals in general are not understanding that the button's jamming range is stronger than, say, a heads up scenario, and it's not uncommon to see them call hands they shouldn't. Therefore, I would actually potentially consider to fold this as an exploit. I would definitely jam it in a 2-reg game when players know they're all in ranges. However, if the players are overcalling here, it's terrible for our hand, right? Say the small blind calls king 5 off, which he should never call. This is a really bad result. So I could actually think folding would be a nice adjust here. And we got called by king 8. At least we make the flush, right? How much did he call for? He called for 6.4 big blinds, right? I'll have a double check, but this seems slightly wide. And yep, we can even double check the solver. This is a little bit wide. So this is actually a perfect example, right? We've taken the all-in and the recreational players called the all-in a little bit too wide. This is reducing the EV of our all-in as a bluff, quote unquote, with 6-7 suited. And this is why versus two recreationals, I would actually cut the jams that are pure bluffs, concentrating more on the jams that are pure value jams. Okay, King 10 here. We go all in. This is definitely the play we want to make. I like it. Here we have Jack 8. And again, we're put in a tough spot, right? Do we want to make the call with Jack 8? Well, it's a theory call. It's a Nash call. Do we make it? When we get to around 6 and under versus recreational players, they do actually jam enough for us to call at least Nash. Why is this? Well, it's because they very often have a non-all-in range still that they shouldn't. It's not uncommon to see recreational players at even this just under 7 big blinds still continue to min-raise hands like pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens, pocket jacks, ace king suited. All these hands which don't raise in theory and can just move all in or limp. If they are not putting lots of these hands into jam hands like king, queen, etc. too, they end up with a too bluffy all-in range. Even though they likely still miss some of the weaker all-ins, because they also don't have that very, very top part of their all-in range purely jamming and sometimes going for that non-all-in, we should actually continue to call Nash here. So this would actually be a plus EV call. I can understand the will to want to fold and look to continue to play versus a recreational player. And I don't think folding Jack 8 is a huge mistake, but we shouldn't go too far. We shouldn't be in the mindset of we're playing a recreational player, we should just super overfold in these spots. That would be wrong. The exception being if we've seen the recreational players playing very, very tight. They're playing a low VPIP and they're clearly not playing enough hands. However, if the player is still playing a lot of hands, we should actually continue to call close to Nash. Okay, 6-2. Be interesting to see if you try and squeeze out a limp. You do. I like it. It's a little bit pushing the boundaries, and that's what we should be trying to do against unknown players. We're trying to make as much edge as possible. We haven't seen him be super aggressive at any point, so no reason to not try it. Okay, and we get one of the nastier flops here, right? It's very easy to have hit a piece of this board with either a gut shot, a pair, and we're at a stack depth where I might be a bit tempted to start jamming some of these gut shots. It's interesting to see how you approach this spot. You bet. I don't like it. This is a hand that you kind of, the logic in betting, I'm assuming, is you want to just try and steal the pot now, right? You want to take it down, you want to protect your 6 because it's low. This can work on boards where there's not a lot of draws possible, right? If this was a ace, king, 6, this would make a lot of sense. We want to deny the equity. However, if we think about the overcards to our 6, most of them have a piece of the board, right? What are the unpaired overcards to the 6 on a 10-7-6 board? Well, an 8, this makes a gut shot, right? A 9, this makes a gut shot. A jack is likely going to have very often one of these other cards, which either has a pair or a gut shot. It's going to be hard to generate too many folds here. I would just check and look to get this one to showdown. And we do get jammed on, which I'm not too surprised on such a connected board on a shallow stack depth. This is the problem with betting on this specific board. So like I say, fine to consider betting a pair sometimes for protection, but we need to figure out, are we actually going to get that protection? I don't think we're going to get it here. Okay, ace 10, just folds. Nothing for us to do then. 10-4 suited, how deep are we? Okay, we want to be limping here. This is actually perfect, right? This is the board I would bet my 4. It's almost like the board I described, right? We've got 2 high cards. We've got not many draws. Sure, there's a flush draw, but that's not much. When you're playing heads up, the ranges are so wide that a flush draw being there is really not a huge part of the villain's range. And then there's only a couple of gut shots. Jack 9, 10-9. Some of these might have ISO'd pre. So we're going to generate a huge amount of folds with a bet here and be able to protect our 4. This time we received a call. And now I would look in to get to the showdown. This queen has actually changed a lot. First few flush draws he might have had are now flushes. But also, the 4x that we're ahead of and dominating, we're now chopping with, right? This paired queen has now made our kicker for our 4 a king. And even if he has 4-2, he has a pair of 4s with a king kicker. So now it doesn't really make any sense to bet. We just want to check and get to the showdown. You correctly recognize this, which is very good to see. And we get just a terrible run outright. We're really hoping to go check, and we somehow win against some backdoor clubs that he didn't probe, some missed 10-9 or something. So we can hope. We do get the check, which is nice. And we actually have the exact 10-9, so a fantastic result for us. And our villain makes quite a large mistake here by not probe betting. Even if he just bet one big blind, he's going to force you off your 4 more than likely here. So this is a nice learning point for anybody out there. If you're in the big blind shoes here and you have the probe bet opportunity, this is an opportunity we should look to almost always take in Spin and Go. People in general, so when they check the turn here after betting the flop, are not protecting the turn range that often. So probe bets achieve a huge overfold compared to what they need to turn a profit. So when we do get to the river with a bluff, with the opportunity to probe bet, we should always take it. Good example of this player not taking it with 10-9 and losing out on a pot he would more likely have won if he did take the aggressive action. Okay, this time we have Queen 9. He limps. You're fine to go either way here. You can check back or you can jam all in. The more VPIP the recreational player has been playing, the more I would jam all in. If I'm against a reg, I would mix this up. I would sometimes half, like 1/3 stack Kaiser. So here it's more like a half stack, 3 big blinds. Or jam all in and occasionally check it back. You went for the jam all in, which I think is totally fine. And you got called by the monster trap king queen suited. This is fine. This is going to happen. This is unavoidable. Nice trap by our villain. Sometimes just have to tap the table and say nice play. Okay, we're back to almost even. Heads up. Let's see if we can squeak out some edge here. You go all in. Both options I see are fine here with Jack 8 suited. You can go all in and you can limp. We really want to ask ourselves for players' tendencies. We've not seen anything super aggressive from this player, so we could consider a limp as this is a very nice flop in hand. If the player is a more aggressive recreational, it's fine to jam this hand, because if we limp, we'd have to limp call. I think it's very, very close, and I can get behind either option. Yes, I think limp is going to overachieve in terms of what a solver would quote the EV, but I also think going all in will overachieve, as recreational players do overfold to open shove at smaller blinds heads up. They overcall when we're deep, so if you are like pushed at 20 big blinds, they call too wide. But when we're under like 10 big blinds, they're not finding enough calls. We can put on screen here what a call to 8 big blind jam would be, and we can compare and see if we think that's realistic. Okay, so we got the fold. This time we've got Jack 8, and we also get a fold. That's nice. Okay, Queen 2, we are 9. Yeah, definitely want to be limping here. You make the limp, good stuff. And you have a nice top pair. Definitely want to bet here. I don't really care what Theory wants to do in this spot. We want to give them a chance to check jam any 7 or 3x, which is not an uncommon play to see from a random player. We want to give them a chance to check jam some kind of gut shot. And also, when we're 9 big blinds deep, any queen's going to be good enough to already plan for a triple barrel to get all in by the river. So I definitely would start with a bet and not check with it being my worst kicker. Not bothered at this point. You do go for the bet. I like it. And we take it down. This time we have 10-6. Nothing to do but fold. 9-3, I'd like to see a limp again. You make it. And you see he's not ISO'd us once yet. So we're definitely getting away with getting these limps in. Oh, we have another one of these more nastier boards. We've seen him go for the check jam on a similar board here. So here we have 2 options. We're setting up for a triple barrel, or we're checking and looking to go for some delay bets. I think given the fact we've seen him check jam on an almost identical board on the 10-7-6 or whatever it was, I would check and preserve my gut shots equity on the flop, especially with having the backdoor flush draw one. If I had 9-3 without the heart, I'd be a little bit more happy to bet and just fold to a raise. If I bet with my 9 of hearts one, I would still have to fold to a raise, but I'd be less happy about it. So, considering to start with a check and look to bluff with delay here versus somebody that's shown he's capable to check jam a similar flop. You go for a bet, and you get the fold this time, which is cool. I would still probably lean towards checking, but in general, taking the aggressive action is almost always at least a very decent option. It's never going to be a superly bad play. The only way you could make a big mistake with betting on this board would be if you bet the flop here and then check the turn and give up. This, in my opinion, would be a big mistake. A lot of our profit on such a board is not actually coming from the flop C bet when we bluff, it's coming from the turn and river barrels. Random players are overfolding to a half pot turn barrel a lot and overfolding to a half pot river barrel even more. So if we bet such a flop where there's lots of easy continues, right? Many pairs, many gut shots type holdings, very important we fire up with future street aggression. Okay, this time we have 6-4. We have a gut shot, but on a monoturn flop, this is not going to cut it. If we face a bet, we would have had to have folded. We don't face a bet, and this gives us a very profitable opportunity to probe bet. Whenever we get this opportunity versus a random player, we should take it, especially when we have some kind of draw equity, and especially if it's draw equity that can't call a delay bet. So this would be the perfect hand to bet. We can go 1 big blind or 1.5. I'm happy with either. You go 1.5. Really happy to see you take the aggressive line here, and you get the fold. Perfectly played hand. Here we have 3-5. We've gone for a limp again. I think it's fine. He's not isolated us once. Get to the flop. Here I'd bet. Very easy to get overfolds on a monoturn flop. And even if we bet and face a raise, it's likely the hand he raises has us pretty crushed anyway. You do go for a bet and you receive a call. This is now really, really important. We need to barrel. Why is this? Well, random players fast play way too often with a donk or a raise on the flop, so we can highly reduce the amount of queen X and flushes they have. They're going to be weighted towards hands like Jack X, 4X, weak diamond draws theirself, and sometimes they make random calls. We want to be able to go for a size that allows us to jam the river here, while still maintaining at least a half pot bet. So we could bet 1 big blind and then jam the river. Why does this work? Well, it prevents the opportunity from him bluffing us with his missed diamonds on the river via a probe bet. And because their range is capped by having these donks, it will overachieve. But I won't be surprised if you check here. I think many people check way too often here. And you do indeed check, and I think this is a mistake. If he sat there with like 9-4 with no diamond, it's hard to even call 1 big blind, right? Very easy to see how we get enough folds. Oops, let's go back. Let's see what happens on the river. And he jams and nothing you can do, right? We should have barreled the turn. 10-3. We get a walk. A7. We'll just be going all in here, I imagine. Yep. 10-5. He's folded again. So yeah, he's cutting VPIP, right? Jack 8, we definitely want to push all in at this point. He's definitely going to be overfolding to an all in. Again, we can put on screen what you'd want to call for about 6 big blinds here, and you can see how it's easy to overfold. He manages to make the call with Jack 4 this time and gets there though. So we continue to play. King 8, we get another fold. This is lots of free chips we're getting from these folds. This is actually a nice hand. 4-2 suited. We can't quite jam in theory, but we must jam versus the player's tendencies. We've seen he's under ISOing. We've seen he's under V-pipping from the heads up small blind. We can infer he's definitely going to overfold versus an all-in. We should take this. Again, we can put what you've got to call versus a 4 big blind all-in on screen, and you can see how easy it is to overfold. So I think this is a mistake. We should be making this exploit jam. Again, he folds. King 7's got to definitely go all in. Cool. 7-3. Take the 3 flops, see if we can flop something. This is where I would do something very specific only against recreational players and only when shallow stack at about 6 big blinds and less. When you hit a vulnerable pair here, you can donk bet all in. I know it's not a play you'd expect a reg to make very often, but we don't really even want to call a bet with this 3, right? We want to just protect our equity, and there's already 2 big blinds dead here, and we're playing at 100 blinds, I think, so this is 200 chips. It's more than fine to risk our 400 to try and steal this 200. Even when he does have a pair himself, we're not dead. We're going to have about 18 to 20% of equity. So donk jamming all in here would be the best play. Now we've just got to check fold. Would be better to have donk bet all in ourselves. You think there's still plenty of hands he could have missed with. What if he's got like queen 5, right? You'll sometimes even donk bet all in here and get called by a worse hand. He might have limped ace jack or something and call you off. So it's not like when you get called, you're always dead either. So a nice exploit we can think to make here. Okay, we've got 8-2. This is going to be a fold. We can't exploit jam this one. 9-4. Okay, we'll get another walk. King 4, definitely going all in. And we get called by pocket threes and win. That's a nice one for us. We've got a monster hand here with ace queen suited. Yep, I think versus recreational, we don't even need to go all in. Just jamming's fine here. You could also go like 3 big blinds and just jam any flop. And he has the same hand, so nice hand for him. Jack 3. How deep? We can do... I'd just jam. I'd just jam all in. He's going to be overfolding to the jams. And we get ice one after 4. That's a shame. Yeah, we can jam all in. I mean, it's about 5 big blinds for an Ash jam. And when you factor in that they overfold quite a bit to jams, it becomes quite a clear push, like printing chips. Okay, 7-3, we fold. Ace 8, easy all in. Jack 2. Okay, nothing we can do, unfortunately. Ace 2, we're going to be all in here for sure. We get called. And he calls a queen 6. Very easy call for theory. But these are the type of hands many recreational players can miss. When we jam all in here for 4.7 big blinds, he has to call any queen. Even hands like queen 2 offsuit are going to be called. And it's very easy for players to overfold this, which is why we usually have a lot more fold around the 5 to 10 big blind stack depths when we jam all in than theory does. Okay, king 7. Easy call. And it looks like we're still going on. 7-3. Going to have to fold. I agree. We're a little bit too shallow to try and limp. Again, 8-2. How deep? Yeah, I would just fold at this point. If we're at 6, I'd still play it. But at this point, I think folding's okay. Yeah, we've got to call king 2. We've seen he's not just pushing all his best hands, right? We've seen him limp king queen suited. We've seen him limp ace queen suited. So we should call here. We saw him push 9-3 suited a few hands earlier. We should take the theory call, and I'm happy to see you made it. And he had queen 4, so this is a good example, right? This might be a hand that some regulars consider to exploit fold in their eyes because the guy's not been playing as high VPIP, but we've had some key showdowns. We've seen him limp the top of the range, and we've seen him make a jam with a weaker hand. So there's such a player, we can't be folding these hands to jam, and it's great that you made the theory call here and you got rewarded by facing queen 4. Unfortunately, he got there and you didn't win the spin, but you won the EV, and that's the main thing, right? We're always trying to maximize our decisions, do everything we can control, and we'll get the good results in the long run. So I think some interesting spots in this spin. I think we can up the turn aggression a little bit with turn barrels in a couple of spots. And we can up our VPIP a little bit on the freeway versus an unknown player. But in general, I think you played pretty solid. You kept your VPIP high for the most part. You used quite a lot of C bets. You didn't let them steal the pots. You found some nice probe bets. So all in all, I think a pretty well played spin. A few things we can improve on, but nothing majorly bad, and a very good solid bait. Your free account today at r&bpoker.com and take advantage of our ever-growing video library, coaching and league finders. See you in the next video, guys.